On this episode, we're going to dive into the scariest movies of all time by doing a list of the scariest movies of all time. And I'm going to show you footage from the scariest movies of all time while telling you all about the all-time scariest movies. Number 1. So yeah, it's the story of Clarice, FBI agent on the case of a vicious killer, and her boss sends her to interview the notorious cannibal Hannibal Lecter. She heads to the asylum where they're keeping him, dealing with the warden.
I am the warden of this institution.
It's classified.
She meets with the cold madman trapped behind a glass cage who tries to get information about Buffalo Bill Johnson, but who's getting under whose skin?
I ate his liver with some refried beans and a nice Cabernet.
Meanwhile, Bill glams up and taunts his latest victim, who he keeps trapped in a well, and Hannibal's famous mask makes its first appearance. Bill does the notorious goodbye horses dance and tells his prisoner,
"The skin. The lotion on its skin. It rubs the lotion on its skin."
But Clarice manages to track him down and have a chilling final face-off in night vision. Number 2. The original Hitchcock classic, defining an entire generation of terror and forever changing our views of The Shower. It's the story of Marion, who steals $40,000 from her job and goes on the lam, ending up at the infamous Bates Motel. The caretaker there, Norman, is an unusual sort, peeping in on her.
"I want your pumps and your brooch."
And eventually, Mother kills her in the shower. Soon, detectives are on the case looking for her, and Marion's sister, teamed up with her boyfriend, show up too. It's revealed that Norman's mother is dead, and he keeps her body there, posing as her when he needs to, becoming one of the most noted horror movie villains of all time. Number 3. Known for its incredibly low budget, PA is one of the most well-known found footage horror films out there. It's the tale of a young couple with a new video camera, at first just recording their day-to-day, but at night they start to capture some mysterious goings-ons around their house. Sleepwalking, moving objects, and furniture arrangement. They call in an expert who tries to give them information, but night after night the bizarre occurrences continue.
Oh my God!
Things escalate, with people getting pulled out of their beds, eventually leading to a sinister end. Number 4. Tobe Hooper's gritty horror classic disturbed almost everyone that saw it, and convinced its viewers that they've seen one of the goriest films they've ever seen, even though the film itself is relatively bloodless. A van full of teens on their way to visit the old family home encounter a crazed hitchhiker on the road who ends up attacking them. But their troubles don't end there.
My grandfather lived there.
Your grandfather? He's dead! No, you don't want to go up there!
Because when they get to the house and explore the area, they end up getting attacked by a murderous family living nearby.
The last picture ever taken of me when I could still walk. That's me. I was driving the car, and that's Gunnar Hansen. He was my passenger. He's now an actor. I was hurt. He's fine.
Wheelchair-bound Franklin ends up on the receiving end of the killer's weapon, while final girl Sally ends up a guest at their demented dinner party, pushed to the edge of madness, leading to a final harrowing chase on the highway. Number 5. The original summer camp slasher film tells the tale of a bunch of young people trying to reopen a notoriously cursed camp out by Crystal Lake.
What?
That place is cursed. Don't get her all rattled, Ralph.
Unfortunately, some unseen stalker is watching them, killing them off one by one, mostly after just having sex.
I believe it was on Friday the 13th.
Today is Friday the 13th.
Yeah.
There's a legend about the lake in which a young man named Jason drowned there when he was young, and eventually it all ends up in a final game of cat and mouse with our hockey masked killer. Number 6. The film that launched the career of James Wan tells of the police on the trail of the infamous Jigsaw Killer, who doesn't directly murder his victims and instead places them in overcomplicated traps in which they have to go through grueling torture in order to save themselves. He's represented by the twisted-looking Billy puppet, who delivers his message to the victims via videotape and audio recordings, and it's up to the detectives to try to figure out the identity of the Jigsaw before it's too late for their victims and for themselves.
You will have to choose what you love the most and what you're willing to leave behind. Game over.
Number 7. John Landis's definitive werewolf tale is notable for being both terrifying and hysterical, and gives us the story of two friends hiking across the British countryside, stopping over in the slaughtered lamb, but they don't listen to the warnings to stay on the road and are attacked by a werewolf. David survives but has hallucinations and is visited by Jack's mangled ghost, who tells him that he's a werewolf now.
David, you are the last werewolf.
Jack doesn't listen to him and goes to stay with his nurse, eventually transforming under a full moon in a prolonged transformation sequence. He attacks people all over the city, including the underground tube, eventually waking up in a zoo. Jack keeps on showing up looking more and more rotted every time, and David causes panic on the streets of London, finally getting gunned down by police after a touching moment. Number 8. There's no denying that Wes Craven defined the horror genre multiple times, and Scream broke the mold once again. Its iconic opening sequence from the spooky voice on the phone as Casey makes popcorn.
How did you know my name?
Turn around.
Intrepid reporter character Gail and her awkward flirting with the dopey local police officer.
Can you tell me more about that, Deputy?
You could call me Huey.
And countless red herrings all add up to a fun, self-referential horror magnum opus. People get killed off, leaving the victims piling up, and the suspects dwindling down until the final sneaky twist with having a surprise double killers obsessed with living out all the cliches of the genre. Number 9. Sam Raimi's breakneck speed, grueling horror experience turned the genre on its ear with the reversal of the final girl trope, and contrary to most 80s franchises, instead of giving us another horror villain, introduced us to one of its greatest heroes, even if he's an idiot.
She's on her head, and he says, "You liked it, but you're crying!"
When a group of college kids head up to a cabin in the woods, they discover an old tape recorder and an old spooky book full of crazed drawings. They play the tape, which awakens a force within the woods, including some wild branches that possess Cheryl, causing her to attack her friends. Ash's hand is also possessed, forcing him to cut it off to fight the rapidly increasing horde of the possessed Deadites. Until finally using his groovy hand chainsaw to take them all on in the blood-soaked finale. Number 10. You can't think of horror without thinking of John Carpenter and his groundbreaking slasher masterpiece. Young Michael Myers kills his older sister and is locked away in an institution, but manages to escape and return to his hometown on Halloween night in order to stalk teenage girls.
Hey, watch it, jerks! Be killed!
Creepily appearing and disappearing behind hedges.
I spent 7 years trying to reach him, and 8 years trying to keep him locked up, because I knew what was behind those eyes. Just pure, simple evil.
Jesus.
He starts killing while being tracked by his doctor until forcing a final face-off with Laurie, culminating in the now iconic closet scene. The film features some of the finest subtle scares of all time and spawned countless sequels and knockoffs.
Is that the boogeyman?
Yes, it was.
So there you have it, 10 movies that are really scary. These movies are so spooky, and you just saw footage from all 10 of the actual films that are this scary. I hope you enjoyed this video, so like it, subscribe, and do all that stuff that you normally would do on lists of scary movies. My patrons like scary movies, and they support me for listing the scariest movies of all time. And you can too by going to patreon.com/movietimelines. And you'll get more videos like this, which was a list of the scariest movies of all time. Thank you for watching it, and we'll see you very soon for another video that won't be a list of the scariest movies of all time.